This year is big for Bethesda. About 6 weeks from now, we'll get the big reveal of Starfield at not E3. Yeah, unfortunately, E3 is sort of dead, but rumor has it that Microsoft and Bethesda are going to do basically the exact same several hour-long presentation, so that's fine. And here, we may get a surprise announcement from Bethesda Game Studios, and that's specifically being Todd Howard's Bethesda, as they are working on some kind of completely unannounced new game that everyone just kind of seems to have forgotten about, which is natural, because Starfield is coming, and we know basically nothing about Starfield. This originally began with a couple of LinkedIn profiles. That's how this was originally discovered. You have a lead environment artist at Bethesda Game Studios Dallas working on something known as undisclosed goodies, a senior DevOps engineer in Austin working on an unannounced title, and an environment artist in Montreal working on an unannounced project. And you might be thinking, okay, maybe these are just a bunch of outdated LinkedIn profiles referencing some kind of unannounced project at Bethesda Game Studios, but in reality, they just were never updated to be Starfield or even the Elder Scrolls 6. And I would typically agree with you, but all of these people started working at Bethesda Game Studios after Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6 were revealed. So it wouldn't make sense to refer to Starfield as an unannounced title after it was already announced. So based off that, Bethesda is working on and has been working on some game that isn't Starfield, isn't Fallout 76, and isn't the Elder Scrolls 6. Something else completely new. And the biggest reveal came from Bethesda themselves, when in May of 2021, they put up a server engineer job listing to help create and improve systems for an unannounced title, which they subsequently removed from the job listings a few days later after a ton of articles and videos were made on this. And on one hand, you might look at this, oh, they removed it from the job listing, maybe it was just a typo or never meant to be there in the first place. But when you look at the LinkedIn profiles mentioning unannounced game from years ago, and then you look at a job listing mentioning an unannounced title, I choose to believe there is actually some kind of unannounced title. And the very interesting part about this is, despite Bethesda's fairly long history of leaks, we have absolutely no idea what this is. But it seems like it could be a fairly sizable project, at least based off dev time. One of the people who worked on this left Bethesda 2 years ago. So they had time to join Bethesda, work on this project, and then leave, and then 2 years went by and the thing is still not known. And the oldest LinkedIn entry for this, with the undisclosed goodies, clocks in at 3 years, 4 months in total, dating back all the way to early 2019. But in regards to all of this, it is definitely worth noting that at this point, Bethesda is likely working on not one, but 2 totally unannounced games. Or at least that's my opinion, as we do have what I think is our mystery game here that has been being worked on for nearly 3.5 years now, but then also some kind of mobile game. Bethesda Game Studios has mobile job listings, and Todd Howard has said in the past they always want to be developing a mobile game, and unless all of these people are working on the Elder Scrolls Blade still, it seems safe to assume there is another new mobile release that will come out likely at this E3 like they did with Fallout Shelter. But I think our mystery unannounced project with nearly 3.5 years of dev time is something else and not a mobile title, because 3.5 years of dev time would be a fairly large amount for a mobile title, especially when you consider this is actually 3.5 years of dev time across multiple studios within Bethesda Game Studios. Now obviously there could be things like breaks or switching off to other projects, but still that's a fairly sizable amount of time, more time than was given to Fallout 76. And outside of the dev time, we really don't know much else. We have the job listing for a server engineer that Bethesda Game Studios put up themselves, which would heavily suggest something multiplayer, but it also could just be something to do with connecting to a server, which will apply to a lot of games. Maybe not you as the player connecting to the server, but something in the game connecting to a server. We do have a couple of hints though, and that comes in the form of trademarks. Trademarks tend to be overly speculated upon in the Bethesda community and are honestly pretty useless when it comes to actual details on games. But one of the things they do provide are names or logos, and that's what they give us here, as Bethesda does have outstanding trademarks for both Giant Monster News and Spy Team. Giant Monster News they've been kicking around since 2009, consistently renewing it or filing a new one when it does expire, while Spy Team is relatively new from 2018. And to be clear, these are not Bethesda Game Studios specific trademarks, they're under the Zenimax umbrella, so it could apply to any of their various studios, or now Microsoft's various studios. And although there definitely has been speculation that this new unannounced title that potentially does have multiplayer based off that server engineer job listing could be Spy Team. It seems like there's a lot of people in that camp. I find that hard to believe. Bethesda Game Studios has only ever made Elder Scrolls and Fallout games. Now all of a sudden their next game is not only going to be Starfield, but something else completely new called Spy Team? Spy Team to me sounds like some kind of free-to-play mobile game, which maybe that actually is Bethesda's mobile game, but even that seems far-fetched. And when we look at how a new game could fit with the Elder Scrolls or Fallout, the biggest and most desired option is remasters or remakes. Could Bethesda actually be working on a remaster or remake for these past few years? That'd be a project that could make sense to be taking a fairly long amount of time, but perhaps being worked on by a minority of the studio, a smaller team working on something like this. Frankly, we have no idea. This is just complete speculation and definitely some hopefulness involved, but what we do know is they've been working on something for years now, and we frankly, again, have no idea what it is. And who knows, maybe in 6 weeks from now, we're gonna find out the answers. Fortunately, that's far from the only mystery project going on at the greater booth at Bethesda. This Not E3 from Bethesda has a lot of potential to be a big one. I wouldn't be shocked if we see the return of a big and exciting BE3, or B not E3, whatever they end up calling it. Coming from Bethesda Game Studios directly, of course, we have the big Starfield reveal, which, although it's only going to get like one line in this video, that's tremendous. Also, whatever mobile game they're working on will very likely be announced and probably released at E3. I think Todd Howard loved doing that with Fallout Shelter and wanted to do it with the Elder Scrolls Blades. But also, there's going to be some big news around Fallout 76, I think. Although the first half of Fallout 76's 2022 is looking pretty light and pretty weak, the second half has some serious potential. Expeditions has been being worked on in one form or another for like 2 years now. Seems like it could be a really big feature and something they are very excited to show off, and I bet we get a big reveal or a nice good trailer around that. The Indiana Jones game that Todd Howard is also a part of could also get a new trailer. I wouldn't be shocked to see that. We have Redfall, which is supposed to be coming out in the summer of 2022, but we haven't seen full gameplay of that. Things have been pretty quiet though, so I wouldn't be shocked if we see a delay, but either way, likely a trailer of some kind at E3. But then the other studio to get very excited over is Zenimax Online Studios. Zenimax Online Studios develops ESO, and I don't really cover or play ESO, but this studio has been growing quite exponentially, it seems, at least from an outsider looking in, as they now have locations in Austin, San Diego, Seattle, and Madison, Wisconsin. Sorry, Wisconsin. If I just said Madison, I don't think many people would know where that is. We don't have an exact number, but it seems like whatever they are working on could be huge. There's a ton of job listings, a ton of physical location expansion, and we've known for years now they're working on something completely new, a new IP, a new AAA game, and a new engine, but we have no idea what that is, and based off their very rapid expansion and the purported success of ESO, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of money going into this game, which gets me pretty excited, and this could be the year where we finally see more, especially when there's going to be a ton of eyes on whatever's shown off because people are looking for Starfield. You have to remember, Not E3 is effectively just a big ad anyway, so getting a trailer for this big new game in there could definitely be a plus. Then we do have the two mystery studios with Roundhouse Studios, formerly known as Human Head Studios. They were mostly a support studio that released Rune 2 in 2019. We have no clue what they're working on now. Zenimax acquired them a few years ago. Seems like they're probably just helping out on a larger project, potentially the Zenimax Online Studios project, since Roundhouse is also based in Madison, Wisconsin. Although there's also this LinkedIn posting from many years ago before the Zenimax acquisition, where they were working on a PvPvE third-person shooter based on a comic franchise. And then lastly, AlphaDog Games, which is almost certainly working on something mobile. Not clear what this is, but their job listings make it clear it is something mobile and describe being able to work with some of the biggest IPs in the industry. So perhaps utilizing one of ZeniMax's other IPs, I could see them helping on a Starfield mobile game, or maybe that's just a nice line in the job listing to get more applicants. Either way, to me, going forward, the Bethesda Not E3 is going to be very exciting. Last year they did a joint conference with Microsoft, which was fine. It was definitely needed for the amount of content Bethesda had to share. I understand why they did that. But this year, it really feels like they have the potential to bring out the big guns. The big guns being, of course, Starfield with the biggest, but then I imagine we get something else, at least one other thing from Bethesda Game Studios themselves. And then also, of course, from Bethesda Game Studios, that Expeditions trailer, which if that comes out in September, that could be a phenomenal timing. The Starfield waiting room, get to try out the new Fallout 76 DLC just a couple of months before Starfield, but then also this big new Zenimax Online Studios game, this new Indiana Jones game, which I know a lot of people are very excited about. And overall, we're only a little while out now, and I am very, very excited. Hopefully you guys found this video informative. Hopefully you are also hyped. But with that, as always, again, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.